Viewers, a storm is brewing in Dhaka. Is Bangladesh once again veering towards political chaos? Speculation is rife, whispers seem to have become louder, and all eyes are now on one man, Bangladesh's interim leader, Professor Mohammad Yunus. He was brought in as a neutral caretaker to calm the storm after Sheikh Hasina's dramatic exit in August 2024. But now reports suggest Mohammad Yunus is considering throwing in the towel. Why? Because he's frustrated. Sources say Mohammad Yunus is finding it increasingly difficult to work because political parties in Bangladesh are unable to reach a common ground on a number of issues. But what does this mean for Bangladesh? And more importantly, what does it mean for the entire region? In fact, what next for Yunus? Let's begin with that. Resignation, arrest, early polls, or ouster? Now, that is one question that is on everyone's mind, because some reports suggested that he is mulling resignation because his relationship with the military in Bangladesh has deteriorated. Things are not good between him and other political parties. And wondering what is the real issue here? Well, the real issue is the elections. He has said that the elections will be conducted before June 2026. The political parties want him to give a date. When will elections happen in Bangladesh? He has not been able to do that so far. The army also has said that elections must be concluded before December. So is history going to repeat itself? Now, that's the big question that we are asking. And viewers, let's now, focus on what are the options really as far as Mohammad Yunus is concerned. Resignation, he himself, according to reports, has threatened resignation. Arrest, is he likely to get arrested? I mean, there are several reports that seem to suggest this. Early polls, remember, like I was telling you right now, that it is the army, the military of Bangladesh, that wants the elections to happen before December. According to Mohammad Yunus, he has said the elections will happen before June 2026, which is still many more months away. And then you have the political parties there that are also not on the same page as far as Mohammad Yunus is concerned, because the political parties, especially BNP, has been saying that fix a date, and leaders have been holding certain protests as well. And ouster, that is another thing that we are looking at. Now, viewers, what is also important to understand is that there are several meetings, in fact, that have also been taking place. We have learned from reports that there was an emergency cabinet meeting that he chaired earlier today. Later this evening, he is going to meet a delegation of BNP, the political party, and after that he is also likely to have a meeting with Jamaat-e-Islami. So there are a lot of meetings that are taking place with Mohammad Yunus and the other key stakeholders in Bangladesh. So hopefully some clarity is expected there. Joining us on the broadcast is former diplomat Veena Sikri. We also have with us Salahuddin Shoaib Choudhury, editor, BLiTZ. He is a Bangladeshi journalist. Good evening to both of you. Thank you very much for joining us here on Times Now. Salahuddin Shoaib Choudhury, let me ask you first. Can you tell us a little bit about what is really happening in Bangladesh? Because reports are suggesting that all is not well. Are we staring at yet another political turmoil, something similar to what we saw in August last year?
Thank you very much. You see, since August last year, when Yunus was put into power through a jihadist coup, so Yunus has been playing lots of dirty tricks. He has no intention at all of holding any election in this country. And the reason that he has been creating a kind of the buzz since the day before yesterday that he is resigning is all bluff. Because General Wakar-e-Zaman, when he asked him strictly to hold the election by December 30th, so Yunus came up with a new drama of resignation. Yunus will hold no election in this country, even in next 10 years. He has no agenda. Secondly, Yunus' agenda is to minus Awami League and BNP from politics and let the country go into the tight grips of jihadists, Islamists, and US deep state and Pakistani ISI. Now, most importantly, as you have mentioned, that there are two options for Yunus: resignation. As I said, it is drama. He is not resigning. And next is arrest. Yes, because According to General Zaman, Yunus brought assassin from abroad for getting the army chief killed, eliminated. This is a very serious allegation. This is a very serious allegation, which is attempt to murder. And secondly, Yunus is conspiring against the sovereignty of this country. So at this moment, Yunus is the prime enemy of the people of Bangladesh. And the only option now for the Bangladesh armed forces is to take military initiatives. Please don't call it military coup. There is no coup because Yunus himself is illegal. So remove this illegal element. There must be some military initiatives, military actions. It will take place, and I'm confidently hoping that by the beginning of next week, Yunus will be arrested. And we also know the name of that assassin that Yunus brought from United States. And also for you and for Her Excellency Ms. Veena Sikri, I'm sharing one information that just last night, 11 assassins from Pakistani ISI has arrived in Dhaka by Emirates Airlines to eliminate our army chief. So you understand, this is like 14th of December 1971 when Pakistanis made frantic bids to somehow save their faces, and now the same Pakistanis are doing the same dirty things. But I can assure you, Bangladesh people of Bangladesh are united. BNP is also a pro-election political party, democratic political party. BNP will be definitely not selling their soul to Yunus anymore. I'm sure that Yunus will be arrested by next week.
Okay, well, those are some sensational details, sir, that you are sharing with us. And I want to go across to Ambassador Veena Sikri as well to get an understanding of how she is looking at the evolving situation in Bangladesh. And how will you like to respond to what Salahuddin Shoaib Choudhury has mentioned? According to him, resignation seems to be like some drama. He is confident that Muhammad Yunus may get arrested. He's also talking about some kind of a coup perhaps against the army chief, some kind of a conspiracy behind the doors that's currently underway. What is your reading of the whole situation?
Well, good evening. I think I fully agree with what Mr. Salahuddin Shoaib Choudhury has said. I think the question of resignation of Dr. Muhammad Yunus does not exist. It is a complete drama. It's a myth, actually, because he never himself has been seen saying this word that I want to resign. It's just that somebody from that newly created party, NCP, National Citizen Party, which is supposed to be the former students, went to meet Dr. Yunus and came out saying, oh, he's thinking of resigning. It was just a ploy to whip up support on the streets for him. And that is what it was meant to do because of Yunus's extremely unpopular status in Bangladesh today. She does not have the support of any community in Bangladesh, any group in Bangladesh. In fact, everybody is totally fed up. If you take the economy, it's in total distress. So the people are not happy at all. They have, unemployment, factories are closed, prices are high, nothing is available, trade with India is being stopped deliberately. So they're in a very bad way. So why should they support Yunus? If you take the political parties all want election. The BNP has clearly said that they want election by December 2025 and they will not wait for anything else. But the biggest factor in the collision or the problem that Dr. Muhammad Yunus is facing is the army, is the Bangladesh army. I think we must remember two things. A, that last year in August, when Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina left the country, it was the army which said that yes, now we need an interim government, and they agreed to bring in Professor Muhammad Yunus as the chief advisor. Now, the interim government is an unelected government. It is there only to have elections. And it is supposed to have elections within 3 months. And it is supposed to have just 10 advisors. They're not supposed to take any major decisions at all. The Yunus regime, illegal, unelected, has far extended its stay. And it has taken, they're talking about reforms before elections. He's whipping up a frenzy, change the constitution, change this, change that. We want this reform, we want that reform the police, reform the constitution, reform the electoral process. These are things which they're not supposed to do. These are all matters to be done by an elected government. So these are all ploys to delay the elections. And I think the biggest factor, there are two more factors that I want to bring in. The biggest factor in proof of what I've said and what Mr. Salahuddin Shoaib Choudhury said, that today, as we speak, there are demonstrations in Dhaka by the so-called students. Actually, they're the people of the National Citizens Party. And what are their slogans? Their slogans are elections after 5 years and make Mohammed Yunus the president. So they are obviously looking at an illegal regime staying on, perpetuating its stay, and lasting indefinitely. Now, I agree with what Mrs. Salahuddin Shoaib Choudhury has said, that there is a threat even to the army chief's life, because there is a great possibility. On the 21st of May, 3 days ago, the army chief had a huge, what they describe as darbar, when all the armed forces representatives in Bangladesh, including those serving abroad, they got together on the virtual mode, and that meeting came up with certain key decisions. And one of the key decisions was their expression of deep displeasure that Mohammed Yunus and his illegal unelected regime is not keeping the government, the army informed, even on matters which concern security of the nation. And one of the matters he mentioned very clearly was the corridor.
The Rakhine corridor.
Yes, the so-called humanitarian corridor, which is supposed to be just a corridor to supply arms to the Arakan army. And the army of Bangladesh is against it because they feel it will affect the sovereignty of Bangladesh.
And also the appointment of the NSA, which was also opposed by the Bangladeshi military. Very interesting points you both have made. I want to once again go back to Salahuddin Shoaib Choudhury. Now, he was made the chief advisor of the interim government on August 8, 2024, to be precise. Now, as Ambassador Sikri also mentioned, usually within 3 months, you're supposed to bring in stability and ensure elections happen. It's been so many months. In fact, it's going to be 1 full year. Now, what does it mean for Bangladesh, given how the situation is right now? We're getting to know that he called and he chaired an emergency cabinet meeting earlier today. There are reports that he's going to meet delegations from BNP and then Jamaat-e-Islami after that. What can you think, what do you think is really happening behind the scenes? What is he trying to do? Is he trying to, gather some support of these political parties? Can we see a possibility of a return of Sheikh Hasina to Bangladesh? I mean, given how things are right now?
Ms. Tina, look, actually the meeting you are referring to as cabinet, it's not cabinet. It's a Yunus bunch of criminals, thugs and terrorists. And during that meeting, I can tell you, they decided that they will mobilize their jihadist forces against the election, as Her Excellency just now mentioned, and they will chant the slogan in favor of Yunus becoming the president. So it's an attempt of coup against Bangladesh armed forces and Bangladesh by Yunus and his illegal jihadists and terrorists. And Yunus will be making frantic plays in getting support from PNP, which will not take place. Yunus has support from Jamaat because Jamaat is an anti-Bangladesh vote. And as you mentioned, possibility of return of Sheikh Hasina. Of course, Sheikh Hasina will definitely return. And if you say Yunus has banned Awami League, who Yunus is to ban Awami League? Yunus himself is illegal. I am hoping, sincerely hoping, from tonight, our armed forces will begin operations to arrest instead every crony of Yunus, including, as you mentioned, so-called National Security Advisor Khalilur Rahman, who is an American passport holder with a criminal background of murder, and 14 members of the so-called Advisory Council of Yunus, they are foreign passport holders. Yunus himself is a foreign passport holder. And during the last 9 months, Yunus and his people have looted 90,000 crore taka from Bangladesh stock market. They have smuggled $3 billion from this country. These are the bunch of looters and criminals and mercenaries. And our country now must get rid of these mercenaries, as I am expecting. From tonight, there must be operation to arrest each and everyone. And General Waqar-uz-Zaman has categorically stated that he will not allow any mob justice. So what they are chanting now on the streets, demanding election after 5 years, Yunus to be president, they are all mob activities. Army will be deployed, army is on the street, the number is increasing. They will go for operation. Yunus stays the number, Now, I'm looking forward to the day when Yunus will be facing charges of crimes against humanity, because he has killed Hindus, he has killed police, he has killed army, he has killed Bengalis. This man must be hanged.
Okay. Ambassador Sikri, I want to ask you also the same question. Now, he, like you also mentioned, should have ideally ensured elections are held within 3 months or maximum 6 months if there was a lot of, turmoil on the ground. But it's now going to be almost a year. What does it say about his intentions as far as Bangladesh is concerned? Do you also seem to agree with what Mr. Salahuddin Choudhury is saying now? And what can really be done? Do you see a return of Hasina happening in Bangladesh in these circumstances?
Look, let's be very clear. The army, as I said, had brought in this interim government and it was sworn in by the president of Bangladesh. At that time, the army itself had said, okay, we give you 18 months. They'd already given them 18 months, which is by December of this year. So the target for the election was already laid way back as December of this year. But Mohammed Yunus has shown, he and his cabal have shown that they're not interested in elections. At one point, they perhaps thought that if they could whip up enough support for themselves, because we must remember one point, that the real forces behind Mohammed Yunus are the Jamaatis, the Jamaat-e-Islam, Jamaat-e-Islami, the Hifazat-e-Islam, all the Islamist organizations have got together and they are the ones supporting Mohammed Yunus. In fact, they're talking of a Bengali Sultanate, they're talking of, Sharia law in Bengal, and this is what they are wanting to achieve. They were hoping that they would whip up enough support, but we have seen clearly that the people of Bangladesh do not want any of these things. They want democracy, they want elections, and in fact, all the points that they were, being the anti-Sheikh Hasina feeling was being whipped up, that she doesn't allow elections, etc. These people are doing exactly the same thing, and not allowing elections to be held. So I think that the feeling against Mohammed Yunus and his cabal is at an all-time high. In fact, the banning of the Awami League was just an indication of that, because they probably found, and they did their own secret surveys, and there's a public opinion survey being done very regularly in Bangladesh to show that Awami League's vote bank is intact. Their vote bank of 40% is fully intact. It hasn't gone anywhere. And in fact, at one time when there was a kind of a public opinion survey between the army chief Wakar and Mohammed Yunus, now Wakar is way more popular. He is considered the true Democrat because he is talking about elections. And Mohammed Yunus, who came in as a liberal figure, and
so is Mohammed Yunus then perhaps seeing him as a threat, because we know they are not on the same page at all clearly, and the situation on the ground also does not look very good right now.
But he's an illegal, unelected figure. So he cannot consider anybody as his threat because he's not supposed to be there. So I think the only strong, stable institution of authority in Bangladesh today is the army and the presidency.
And what is it that the army is asking for? The army is saying that, fix a date for the elections, ensure elections are held before December, but Yunus does not want that to happen. So that clearly...
Yes, army in their meeting on the 21st of May, 3 days ago, made these 4 or 5 points very clear. That number one, elections definitely by December 2025. And I think for that election, there will have to be a caretaker government, because this regime of Mohammed Yunus is not a caretaker government by any stretch of imagination. Already number one. Number two, the army is the sole repository and the ultimate repository of law and order. The police has completely incapable. So there is complete anarchy in Bangladesh, and the army decision said that we are not going to tolerate any more mob violence or anarchy. So
nobody would like to see a repeat of what was seen last year in August. I'm completely out of time, but appreciate both of you, Ambassador Heena Sikri as well as Mr. Salahuddin Shoaib Choudhury. Thank you very much for joining us here on Times Now and sharing with us your perspective on this developing story that we have from Bangladesh.